Stare at an object 10 feet away every day. Literally, I swear to God, I do that every day. It actually does improve your vision if you fuck with it like that religiously, especially like if you like are a bit nearsighted. So anyway, random ass shit, right? Just had to say it. Because it helps me focus on the video and not on fucking other shit. I got ADD like a motherfucker, so bear with me here. So anyway, so one of my subscribers asked me a question that I guess like it sounds kind of stupid, but I thought it was obvious, but it's obviously not obvious, the answer. He's like, so, let me understand, like you're in county jail going to prison. What made you want to become Kumi? Like, why would you do that? And I guess the answer to me is so obvious, and that's why it wasn't something that I ever really thought to question. So anyway, I thought I owed the subscribers an explanation because it does matter a lot actually. So I grew up, obviously I'm Caucasian. I grew up with two white parents. They're still married. Um, I grew up like with like a pretty good like household. Like my family was good. Like there was no, I didn't go to foster care, this and that. Like, I had my problems for sure as a kid. Like, from 16 to like 18, I was in like a lockdown boarding school type situation. Like, I committed plenty of felonies as a youth. But but family wise, I came from a good spot. So it's like as soon as I say that, people are like, "Well, what the fuck?" Like, well, hold on, like because that's actually why that's part majorly part of what makes this relevant is like when I was locked up, right? I was looking for normalcy. Like I wanted normalcy, and I mean this with the most utmost respect, but when I looked at the woodpile and what they had to offer, if you will, I was terrified because what I saw was sharing of syringes and fucking morphine pills, getting melted down with taking a whole roll of toilet paper and burning that motherfucker to make this shit happen. And it was not attractive. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I have my problems with substances on the streets. I push, different type of pills and definitely took my fair share. But that shit was not attractive. And I already knew like when I was in prison, this isn't what I want. Like I don't want to be here. This isn't what I want to live like. And when I met uh, the people that ended up sponsoring me, if you will, that's the term I'm gonna use because I want to keep the terminology that we use a little bit more, under the cuff, if you will. But when so when I was a prospect, if you will, um, I was impressed with the men that I was spending time with. Like I was enjoying myself playing basketball, like trying to distract myself about the situation. I'm facing prison time, and I'm 19 years old. This is fucked. Plus, the people I'm playing basketball with, yeah, they happen to be black, but they're also the people that I was hustling with on the streets, and I knew. So it's like I get to county jail, and my choice because I'm a certain skin tone is to hang out with this that yeah that I'm not that this these are the people I'm these are the knocks, like these are who I'm serving dope to on the streets, like to go kick it with the knocks when I could just be kicking with the same people I was kicking it with on the streets. Like that made no sense to me. It made no sense. And then especially things kind of came to a head when this old ass Wood, I think he was a Wood, he could have been anything, I wouldn't have known the difference, long hair, San Francisco tenderloin, type Wood, came up to me. It was like basically told me. He didn't ask me. He told me. He said, if you don't stop doing, this spreading with, black men and this and that. He didn't use the term black man either. Uh, well, I'm gonna send word because I know you're going to SanQuentin, And when he said that to me, I was like, cool, bro, do it. Like, just do it. Like, that was it. And yeah, that was the turning point for me. Like, it in that moment, like I flashed to a memory. We were in a restaurant, right? And my grandmother and I were eating, and our server happened to be black, and there was only one other table in the restaurant. It was a father and son, and the father made a racist comment about the server, and my grandmother immediately turned around. I forget exactly what she said to him because at the time I was kind of like spooked a little bit. I was probably like 4 or 5. I didn't know what was going on. But then she turned back around, totally acted normal, like went back to eating like she was, and then the man, like the kid's father, said, "Well, it's a good thing that we're white, huh?" And I remember those words so powerfully, and I could see my grandmother, like she was an Irish woman, first generation immigrant, like accent, everything. I don't know exactly what like made her this way and bold like this because it wasn't like normal in that time, if you will. But it's like the '90s. She turned to him and she said, "Well, then thank God we're not white, we're pink, and fuck you." And that shit, it hit me like a ton of bricks as a young child. Like, okay, like this is what we as a people do. This is what my people do, at least. Maybe not all Caucasians, but I'm not Caucasian, I'm pink now. And that sounds weird as fuck, but like I was 5, and like that was big. Like, my grandmother's like, she was heavy, but she was heavy because she was big. Like, this man, like, he was a threat, and she didn't give a fuck. Like, she didn't give a fuck because what he said was more important, like, to her to say something about. And I have lived my life every single fucking day after that same way. And I can't tell you exactly why. Um, I can't tell you why that hit me like that, but it just did. It felt right. It felt noble. Um, it felt like the right thing to do. You just don't sit there silently. So I say all that. I'm sorry, I went off on a massive tangent, but I say all that to say this. Um, what Kumi stands for is protecting others and looking out for others, not ourselves. This isn't a fucking, you don't get like protection for being Kumi. In fact, it's more of a target. But what you get is to fucking beat up bullies. And that's period, point blank. Like, that's it. Like, and that's been something that's been a theme in my life. Like, I like I like to find bullies, like, because if you're a bully, you have a massive weakness that you don't know about, but I can figure it out. And that's another thing about the men that I met um, during my time in prison and outside, that are part of Kumi, and just and some Jama too, and some Muslim men, and a whole bunch of other shit, and some Norteños. Shout out Nortes, all the shit. But like, there's a lot of knowledge, like a lot of just like how to be a good human, and like by in so doing have the people around you not even know it, but be better humans themselves, not even knowing you're like kind of manipulating them, but like you're not manipulating, like you're actually like guiding, but like you're not even saying that, it's just actions. And especially now as a father, like, I do that just like as first, second nature, whatever the case. But yeah, like I felt like a sense of responsibility, and I wanted that, and I felt like it, especially being white. Like, I had fun with it a bit, like, because I did stand out, and and to kind of push especially when I was in prison, to push the woods a bit, like a lot of them would make jokes like, "Hey bro, let me get a bite of your spread," and I full on offer it to them. None of them really took it, but the fact that their brains even are ticking like that's important to me. Like, my whole thing is like, I don't believe in racism. I don't believe in any of that. Like, quite frankly, Caucasian culture is boring. It's boring as fuck. Growing up in the Bay Area, I was blessed. I got to spend time with every fucking culture you can imagine, like from the Hondos to Asians and every different type, to Africans to fucking white people to fucking, Hispanics to Pisces to, whatever the case, everybody. And we all fuck with it the same. So it was only natural to become Kumi. Because it gave me an opportunity to not only be myself, but be myself and be it proudly. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. And the fact that I didn't want to be around drug use, or any of that shit, because I had, like I said, substance abuse problems in the past, and I wasn't trying to replicate that and continue it. And thank God I didn't. Like, I got out of prison, I stayed out, I got off parole, high control, 3 years, fucking all the shit, got 2 strikes. Now it's been damn near 12 years. I haven't gone back. Uh, I did, I did mess up and go to jail one time, but that's it. I got a family, a wife, my son. Everything is good. Like, full time job. I'm, a mechanic and shit. Um, but it's important for me to just stress the positivity part. Like, there was no part of me that felt as if I was joining a gang, because that would have been easy. There are so many times, like, come on, like, being from the Bay Area, like, Norteños are everywhere. There's so many times, especially in county jail, that those fools would have loved to try to sign me up for some dumb shit. No, I'm not a gang member. No, at all. Disrupt a group? Absolutely. Politically inclined? For sure. 100%. Um, but in a beneficial way, in a positive way for, you know, the people that should be benefited, and in the order they deserve to be benefited, whether they're white, black, Mexican, whatever. Um, I just believe in taking care of the righteous, if you will. And I like that I was able to find a way to spend my prison term productively, and I'm thankful for that. Um, yeah, shout out Mousy Brown. Rest in peace, bro. Um, and shout out Jama and all of them too. I don't want to get into any of the differences. I just that's bruh. So that's all I'm gonna say about that for now. Because that's the truth, and I don't. It doesn't matter what came first and who fell under which, but what does matter is that's still bruh. And shout out all the ox out there too, the Muslims. I fuck with the Muslims heavily. You guys give good counsel, and you guys always are like them, father figures that got the corner bunks and shit. um, but most of all, shout out all you low ones out there, behind the walls, on the streets. Whether you're, doing what you want to be doing, or doing what you are doing, or doing something you wish you weren't doing, you got behind this and were embracing this because of the type of person you are, and you have character, and you have leadership skills, and you have the ability to pull yourself up from anything. And if nothing else, that's something that you should know, because you're not going to fail. It's just not an option. And that's what I appreciate the most too, is like, I know that about myself because I've never let myself slip below a certain level. And even if you do, you can get back, bro. You can. Uh, anyway, so there's my answer as to why I joined Kumi. I will say that coming into the prison system, especially getting a SanQuentin reception, was funny and weird. Getting off the bus and saying I'm African, I'm black, it got spicy for sure in R&R. But I can tell you guys that story at some point. Anyway, have a good night.